Good evening, everybody, and welcome to weekend number 11 of the Herd Beginner Racing Series. Tonight we have a single lap of the London Loop, which will take us over the iconic Box Hill in Surrey. We are looking at a very short race of 15.4 kilometres with an elevation gain of 235 metres. Tonight I'll be following Michael Bowser, who will be drafting up with the best of them and then having a big dig up the hill. I'm joined tonight by Steve Pritchard and Ed Finney. Steve, who are you following tonight?
I'm following Canadian and the herd's finest Canadian rider, Brent Robinson.
And how about you, Ed?
I am following Carol Isk. She's currently a WTRL rider, but she is riding with the herd group on Tuesday night. So we'll see how Carol does.
Excellent news. And we have 10 seconds to go, and we'll shortly be heading off, and we can expect the usual freight train at the beginning. And we'll be hitting the everyone's favourite lead-in at the start of the London route, and Bowser is off at 650 watts straight into the lead. Slowing down quickly. I think he's realised he might have gone off a little bit too fast, but the others are just catching up with him now, and we are right in the middle of the train. You can see Dan Pedrosa's in there as well. Alexander Victor, Patrick Schaefer is in there, and I can see Brent. Steve, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, James. As you know, my companion app's having a nightmare at the moment, so I'm currently clicking randomly on riders while I try and find what's happening with Brent. So I'm just going to describe that there's a long kind of train of riders going up through London at the moment. Appear to be some mixed spots. Already a few gaps happening. Ed, how's Carol doing?
Carol's doing well. She came out of the gate pushing about 4.8 watts per kilo, which is around 300 watts for her. She's a fairly light rider. She's currently, I would say, about 20 meters behind the lead group and holding about a little over 3 watts per kilo. So she's pushing hard. I'm not sure she's going to catch that group because we know how that peloton can really surge up and take off. So she's doing well. She's only a level 10 rider, so she doesn't have a big choice on equipment, but she's doing the best she can. Really good effort. James?
Yeah, so Bowser's right in the thick of things, as we'd expect. And we are just on the fairly bumpy lead-in. So this will go up and down for about, I think it's about 5.5 kilometres until we actually get to the actual start of the classique lap. But we're going to see a few rollers, a little bit of a hill, about 5%. And yeah, so kilometre into the race. We've got 14 to go. We'll be hitting Box Hill, I think, around about 7-8 kilometres, and that'll be for most humans in sort of B area, probably about 8 minutes. The A guys will probably do it in more like 6.5. Drop back to C's and D's, maybe more like 10. But we're just going into the tunnel now. Steve, have you managed to find Brent?
I have clicked randomly enough to find Brent and up with him now. He's doing was doing 2.5, but just obviously a bit worried about dropping off the back a bit. Has dropped up. Can see there's a group just behind this group, which is hopefully trying to catch on to the front peloton and make a big blob. So I guess there's about 25, maybe 30 riders here. Brent resplendent on the pink Tron, which of course we know is the fastest of all Trons, and in his herd kit, excellently designed by Corey as ever.
And I think on that note, we should probably touch on the fact there's actually going to be a herd racing kit as well. Keep your eyes tuned to the herd racing Facebook group in the next week or so, because that'll be up for sale with it's a black and red Splendor. Featuring adverts such as high performance racing towels and £5 wine. Established, who cares? But keep an eye out for that. There are some photos on the Herd Racing Facebook group as well. So looking forward to that coming out soon. But just touching on Bowser, he's happily plodding along at the back of this group, as you'd expect, but expect to see him pushing up towards the front before the Climate Constitution Hill. Ed, how's Carol getting on?
Carol's doing well. She's pushing way over normal wattage. Trying to hang with a very small group here. She's about 2.4 kilometers in. She just caught back up. So if she plays her cards right, she'll hang in the draft here and take advantage of this group of about 10 people. I just got word that her TV audio is not working. So I don't know if that's a technical issue on our end. We'll see if we can take a look at that, Craig. Anyway. She's doing quite well, still pushing quite substantially over her FTP. So we'll see how this goes. James?
Yeah, Bowser's still right in the thick of things, as we'd expect. We've got about, I'd say, probably 500 meters or so until the first little climb of the day. And expect this group to thin out a little bit, but I suspect that it's probably not going to hurt too many of these riders. But expect these guys to be doing probably 6 to 7 watts per kilo going up the hill. So we'll see how that one pans out. Steve, what are your thoughts on the lead-in?
It's just really awful, isn't it? I mean, it's got some horrible little punchy climbs that you have to constantly feel like you're working on. Everyone seems to be going ridiculously quickly for no good reason, because you've got a nice 7-minute climb to look forward to today, haven't you? And it's a few people have been caught out a bit. God, they're pushing 7 watts a kilogram up this little hill now, which frankly is just madness with the level of racing that we've got ahead of us, as Brent sits here at 8. So yeah, I could see in my random clicking to get forward, Lisa Jones looked like she was dropped from the lead pack quite early on, and I suspect that's firmly what will be happening to me tomorrow. As Brent is currently in 2nd place by the looks of it, leading the pack over the hill.
Yeah, Bowser's still doing nicely. You can see he's one wheel in front of our friend Max Szymanski. We've got someone from the Killer Bees, but their name's too long for me to be able to see. Got some OTR riders in there as well. And on that note, I've told Tim Rush that if he places top 10 in every single one of all 7 races, he will get a points bonus. Obviously, I was lying to him, but he doesn't know that yet unless he's listening tonight. So, but Bowser doing quite nicely. We are just about to hit another hill, I think. I may have confused myself here. But yeah, no, Bowser's doing well.
Yeah, it looks pretty flat, James. If anything, downhill at the moment.
It does indeed.
Yeah.
I think I may have actually missed the hill, but anyway, ignore me. Steve, how about some commentary from you yourself?
That's all right. I mean, I'm not entirely sure if anyone could hear us. So at the moment, I'm just talking to 3 people in different areas of the country and states of inebriation. But yeah, a glorious amount of trons available in today's is it peloton that we're looking down on now in the front group. Thoughts on bike today? I mean, the Tron great all-rounder, as we know. We have got quite a considerable climb. So would you go for your best climbing bike today? But it is a sprint finish, so do you kind of suffer on the climb and go for a flatter bike, or do you hit the all-rounder? I mean, obviously the answer is ride the pink Tron, right, isn't it, guys?
I think the Tron is genuinely the right bike. I mean, obviously we all know the pink Tron is faster than all other Trons, and we were sent one pink Tron to rule them all. But it's there's a lot of flats before the climb, and there's a decent downhill after the climb and a bit of flat after that. So I do think that the Tron is still the best choice. So yeah, pick Tron away for me. Ed,
and in particular, I think the green Tron is an excellent choice if you happen to be wearing the herd kit, because it's just a perfect match with some green contoured socks. I mean, how can you be slow when you look that good? Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, but science disagrees with you.
So currently, Carol is in 74th position. She fell out of her pack, heading up that little hill to the roundabout, which we all just love. Coming down, she's with a group of about 5 or 6 people. She's still pushing over 2.5 watts per kilo, which is about her FTP. So she's doing really well. And if she can hang with this group and try and take advantage of her weight when we hit that climb in about a kilometer and a half, she should do pretty well going up the hill. James?
Yeah, Bowser is just about to hit the start of the climb. We are just coming up to the roundabout just before the climb actually starts properly. So, expecting Bowser's to be probably around about 8 minutes, 8 minutes 20 up the hill. Let's talk PBs. Steve, what's your best time up this hill, as far as you know?
I've no idea. It's a hill I don't particularly care for or like doing. So yeah, no idea about PB. It's a 7 or 8 minute effort, isn't it? I'd just like to say that to Gavin Irons, you can hear us almost too well. I do apologise for how well you can hear my horrible nasal tones. So yeah, it's one of those hills you just got to sit and time trial up. It's a bit boring. It's not a very exciting hill, and I don't like it, James. So you're probably quicker than me.
Does that mean your PB slower than 8 minutes and 2 seconds?
I genuinely no idea what my PB is. As I say, it's not a hill I care for at all.
I quite like this one actually. I like the fact that it ends just as you think you can't do any more and you actually want to die. And it, my approach to this is just try and hold 4 going all the way up it. And my legs start screaming just as I'm going around the last corner, and then it ends, so which is nice. And then you've got the lovely little bump just after the banner. But Bowser is holding about 3.8 at the moment. He's probably going to go a little bit backwards unless he can pick it up a little bit. But I suspect he's probably had to push really hard to be in the position that he's in at the moment. I can see Ian Elston's just gone past him, holding about 5 watts a kilo. Also, Paul Chacaro's gone past. And can see, Steve, Brent is a little bit up the road. Do you want to just let us know how he's getting on?
Doing really well. It looks like he's trying to hold about 4.5. Obviously, there's some slight ups and downs in the change of gradient. So his Watts is bobbing around a little bit. He's just dropping down a bit to kind of low 4s at the moment. Now, as I say that, he jumps to 5.6. So I think he's basically aiming for about 4.5. He's currently sat in 17th. There's a sort of string of riders off the front and a mini blob that's formed with Brent, and then another mini blob probably about 5 seconds ahead, including the fantastically named A Psychologist, which we see quite a few weeks in these hurdle races. So it'd be interesting to see how big a gap that is at the top and whether they're able to regroup on the descent at all today. Quite a long descent, isn't it? So if you're a heavier rider who can get over the top near some of the real featherweights who climb like goats, then you've probably got quite a good chance of catching them on the descent, haven't you, boys?
Yeah, I'd say so. Ed, how's Carol getting on?
She's just about to make the turn to the start of the climb proper. He's dropped off a little bit. As I indicated earlier, her FTP is about a 2.5, so she's pushing 2.5 to 3. Her average so far this race is 2.9, so I wouldn't be surprised if she can keep this up, that she might have an FTP increase. She says she has never raced a beginner race before, so this might be pushing her some, and maybe we'll see what she's got in her and see if it kicks her up a notch. Back to you.
Yeah, so Bowser's right with one of our friends who doesn't live in Canada, called Nathan Home. And Nate and Bowser are within a second of each other, and Bowser looks like he might be struggling a little bit on the hill, bouncing between about 3.1 and 3.6. And he's just starting to lose a little bit of ground to Nate up front, who's now got pulled out a lead of about 2 seconds. Can see Andy Kroll from ATP. He's 3 seconds up the road. Ian Elston is 7 seconds up the road. Lost track of where Brent is, Steve. How's he getting on?
Yeah, still sat at that kind of 4.3s in this little group of 4 or 5 riders, including I think it's Max Szymanski, who we'll know from some of these rides as well. At about 4.5. just gone round the kind of second hairpin that you come to, so into the kind of 4 or 5% bit. Again, we just sort of sit here thinking, I've just got to sit and pedal a bit more. So yeah, dull climb this one, really, isn't it? And it's raining, which about sums up my opinion on all things this climb.
It's probably worth mentioning that I think this is actually Bowser's third race in 3 days, so he's definitely been putting up the numbers for the last few days, and he's been doing some fairly well, definitely longer races than this one. I think yesterday he was doing 2 or 3 laps of London Flats, which will certainly take a little bit longer than 25, 30 minutes. But he's still plodding away up the hill, probably averaging around about 3.5 watts per kilo. How's Carol doing, Ed?
Oh, Carol's zipping right up the hill. She's at about 7.6 kilometers, so 2.5 to go, pushing about 2.5. Doing real well. She just needs to plod along and keep this up. And like I say, hopefully she'll be able to make up some time as we come up and over and down the other side. But I think she's doing really well and exceeding her normal power limit. So we'll see how this turns out. So she's just trudging along. James?
Yeah, Bowser's in a little bit of no man's land at the moment. We've got KK or KK about 7 seconds up the road, and Alexander Victor is 4 seconds behind. He's on the final stretch of the hill just before we heading up the long straight before we have like a little horseshoe section just before the banner, and I suspect he'll be very happy to see the end of this one. But no, he's doing okay. He's still averaging probably around about 3.5 going up the hill. Got a killer bee just behind him. Again, oh sorry, that's Alexander. Now I can see his full name. Who's 5 seconds behind. Ian Elston, who was originally flying, is now dropping a couple of places, but is still 13 seconds in front of Bowser. Steve, how's Brent doing? What position is he?
Yeah,
Bowser's
he's
in
somewhere
27.
just gone. P17 just gone around the final switchback as they approach the banner, and it is one of those climbs, isn't it, where you can naming no names, do a Steve and sit on somebody's back wheel and then just out sprint them at the top of the climb today. So kind of when these little groups form, there is probably some value in just trying to sit at the back of the group, get a bit of the draft effect, especially as we come now into this little bit of 0%, 1% downhill before the banner. So great opportunity to recover here, sit on the wheels and see what happens. Obviously, we know in Zwift there's a good advantage of going downhill in a blob. So you'll probably hoover up some of these riders that are ahead of him at the moment. But it looks like he's going to go over 18th, 17th. There's a group of 5, so they might get top 10 positions actually. I could see there's 3 or 4 solo riders ahead of them on the descent, and I reckon these guys will catch them on the downhill. But that's them through the banner. Brent's done a 7-minute 20 climb, so a great climb from him.
Seeing some crazy times up front. Dan Pedrosa and Patrick Schaefer are both in the 6:13s, a whole 17 seconds in front of the third place rider. So crazy times. Well done, both of you gentlemen. Bowser's just being caught by a K Doring, which will certainly help him on the downhill. I was a little bit worried he was going to be all on his own going downhill and then struggling to latch on to anyone. But he's got a little bit of company now. Ed, how's Carol doing? How far up the hill is she?
Carol's at 8.3 kilometers. She's on the second leg of the switchbacks. She's just in front of Ed Sufert, and Kyle Noguts is right back behind her just by a few seconds. Carol's pushing hard. A little over 2 watts per kilo. It's taking its toll. Heart rate's up at a 172. I would have been calling the ambulance for myself if I ever got that high. We'd be over. But she's still trudging along, and about like I say, kilometer and a half till the top of this hill. So she just has to persevere and make it up. So she's just about hitting the second corner of the switchbacks. James?
Yeah, Bowser's definitely pushing. His heart rate is touching 200. Oh dear God. My all-time highest ever heart rate is 172, but Bowser's currently at 196. So he's definitely having a pretty good go at this. So fair play to him. He's still in touch with Kay During, and just trying to hang on as we very shortly will hit the little ramp just before we go downhill. Steve, I'm guessing Brent is descending already.
Yeah, he's on the descent, and as predicted, they've picked up a couple of those loose riders that are ahead of them, a couple of American chaps, in fact. And yeah, just sort of want to take the moment to the whole 25 people watching now, but I know everyone in the herd would kind of extend our best wishes to those in America. It can't be great watching what's happening at the capital recently. So yeah, hopefully people have come to Zwift and are having some fun on this ridiculous course you've provided with us tonight, James.
I thought it'd be really nice today. I've given everyone a nice little short race.
As I said, I mean, my role in this group is to just complain whatever course you provide us with, because it's either too flat, too hilly, too long, or too short, James, as you well know. So one day you will find the optimum course, but I won't tell you because that would be far too nice. Brent's, yeah, in the group, in the kind of downhill bit where everyone recovers, just kind of starting to get to some of the flats. Some of them putting the watts on, so maybe just lost the super tuck for a moment. Not quite sure why people are pedaling at this point when you could just be super tucked at 75 kph, but there we go. How are the folks doing on the climb? Ed, is Carol near the top yet?
She's still about a kilometer left. She's just about to the end of where somebody spilled white paint everywhere on the ground, or whatever that might be. I'm sure it's art. But she'll be coming up to the final switchback and heading up towards the kind of false flat, if you will, near the end. But still pushing 2526, so she's doing really well, and she's just hanging in there. James.
Yeah, Bowser's on his own going downhill. He did have a bit of a dig on the final ramp just after the banner to try and catch up a bit with Ian and Nate. Sadly, it wasn't successful. But he has he's 7 seconds behind Ian and Nate, and he's put a gap between himself and Kay During of about 10 seconds. So I suspect he is probably going to finish in 27th place, but we'll certainly see. We've got about 3 kilometres to go, and we'll switch over to Steve.
Yeah, Brent and crew have just hit the escalators, that 15% bit, which is just purely horrific, isn't it? You think you've recovered, and then you've got to do like a massive sprint. A couple of feathers were dropped. There's been a split in the group. A psychologist has gone off the front a bit, but I think Brent and co are going to come together in a blob and hunt him down. So yeah, we're just heading across what I believe is Tower Bridge at the moment. So like you say, not too far from the end. Bit of a group here. I think we're going to see a pretty hotly contested sprint for places in the top 10 from these folks. Mike, has he managed to catch back into a group yet? And Ed,
No.
I can see Carol not quite near the top.
Yeah, Carol's at 9.4 kilometers, so about half a kilometer to the top. She just passed another herd rider, which was Carl Hudson. So she's making up some time. She's pushing 2526, and so she's doing really well. James?
Yeah, Bowser's 10, 11, 12 seconds behind Ian and Nate, with a 10-second lead over Kay During. So we've got the just hitting the escalator now, so he'll be really happy to have a little bit of a sprint up that, I'm sure. And then we've got the crossover the bridge, left-hand turn, and then onto the finish line. So not far to go at all now, probably about 1.5 kilometers. It's looking like 27th place is an absolute shoe-in. So, Steve, you've got to be really close to the finish now.
Yeah, we've just come back past the pens again. A psychologist is 2 seconds ahead of some people. Kick off with very early sprints actually in Brent's group. I don't know if they've seen a psychologist forming a bit of a carrot, a wheel there that they can chase down and use the draft effect with them. So I just changed view on my computer to get a bit of a better view of this. So Brent's riding with the blob. There's 2 chaps that have gone off the front. They've hoovered up a psychologist at the moment. He'd put in a time trial effort. We're just kicking off at 100 meters to go. Brent, it's a massive numbers, 10 watts a kilogram being laid down there, but there's also big numbers around him. He's going to roll over in what looks like 13th. Great ride, Brent. And a lovely sprint at the end there. Some good tactics deployed by several of the riders there, using that rider who'd just dangled in front of them to good effect to catch his wheel, going with that early sprint. Mike must be also approaching the end as well now.
He's got about a kilometre to go. He's just gone over the bridge. He'll be coming up to going past the pens in probably about 30 seconds time. So just enough time to quickly switch back to Ed and find out how Carol's getting on.
Carol just passed the KOM and another rider, Matt Powell with ATP. She's on the slight downhill before we hit the ugly bump in the hill here. What is that, 12 or 15% or some horrible thing here for very short distance before she starts the main descent down to the subway and the escalator that we all love. So far doing real well. Some of these guys weight advantage. They're doing a bit of a whipping action as they come down. The heavy guys coming down fast and up the hill. So she lost a little bit of time there. Looks like Carl Hudson from Nova Scotia just passed her. But maybe she'll make that up on the hill here. She's coming up to the crest and she should be rolling over shortly. And currently at 9% grade. So back to you, James.
Yeah, Bowser's got 200 meters to go. As expected, he's got some company just behind. So Kay Bankston's from ATP is pushing hard, but 2 seconds back. But Bowser's going to be okay. So 27th over the line. Good job, Bowser. Well done. And did you say Carol's just going down the hill?
She just rolled over the top of that last steep pitch, and she is now heading down the hill, 10, minus 10, 11, 12% here. It looks like she'll probably take second out of the women, so that's a good show. She's got it up to over 60, 56 kilometers an hour for Super Tuck.
Yep.
So she stopped pedaling. I don't see her going into a Super Tuck, but she should be. Doesn't look like it from the way her body position is, but maybe it's just not showing on that particular bike. So currently not pedaling, rolling down the hill, slowing down to 66 kilometers per hour. We'll see how she does. So far she's at 11.5 kilometers into this thing, so 3.5 to go. So the rider behind her actually is in Super Tuck and is overtaking her. That would be Matt Powell. I'm not quite sure why she wasn't able to get into a Super Tuck heading down this hill, but obviously Matt is a heavier rider, so taking advantage of Mr. Gravity, he has overtaken her, and she has not started pedaling yet. Heart rate has dropped down to 155, so that's a good deal. So once we come off of this descent, she should have a little more energy to kick it up a bit. But as I say, we're still on the downhill. I think the other two riders have completed the course. Yes.
Yep, they have, and it looks like Matt Powell's not getting a massive lead, so hopefully she can chase onto that as well. But
Right.
Just in the meantime, if we just quickly switch to the rides we've got in place this week, we've actually got double Bologna, which will make everyone ever so happy. So we have Bologna on Monday for the individual time trial, and also for the HBR next weekend. And in terms of the bullseye on Wednesday, we have 7 lovely flat laps of the fan flats in Richmond. So all the flat bits of Richmond 7 times round. So I'm sure all the lighter riders will be absolutely delighted to hear that. But coming back to the race, hasn't got a million miles to go. She must be nearly at the bottom now.
Yep, she got to the bottom and she actually went into a Super Tuck. So I'm going to call foul on why she wasn't able to get, or she wasn't in the Super Tuck on the way down. And she got into it for about 3 seconds, until she dropped below the 56 kilometers per hour. So anyway, currently in the subway, rapidly approaching what we all love, and it's the escalator climb out. So happy that they put plywood down for us, and it would be a bumpy road up. But she's at 13.7 kilometers and just about to make the turn off the subway straightaway through the little joining tunnel here, where she'll hang a left and start the ascent up the escalators. Then she will have approximately 1 kilometer left. That should be about 14 kilometers. She is making time on Matt Powell. Come on, if she can keep the pressure up. I don't know about you guys, but you ride this thing and it seems like you zip right up until you hit about 2/3 of the way up and you come to a screeching halt. It's like the game finally catches up and decides you are at 15%, so you should slow down.
The escalator's horrible.
Yeah.
The only way you can do it is sprint it. You have to
Yeah.
get out the saddle and just put everything you can, and it's not fun. But
So we
it's
just exited the subway station now, and Matt is about a second in front of her, but she's pushing 2.8. He's at 2.3. We'll see if he tries to increase the pressure on her, but she looks like she's coming up fast, so he better do something. He's not trying too hard. Maybe he's cooked a bit, but she's moving along at 2.6 again. Our FTP is about 2.5, so really strong effort by Carol. She's gonna ride this thing and take it into the finish. Not sure. Do we finish right at the 15-kilometer mark, or is it a little bit off from that, James?
I think it's about 15 and a half.
15 and a half. Okay. Right. So she still has about 1 kilometer to go. When you break that down, it's only 1,000 meters. What is that? A couple, 3 times around the track at the high school. So not too terrible. She's putting it to it. She's at 293.0. Heart rate's up at 183. I just died. But I'm old, remember? So us old guys can't go that. I mean, we already used all our heart beats up, and we've only got so many left. We don't want to waste them. But Carol is pushing out 2.8, 2.9 watts per kilo, really strong. I think she's like a horse that knows where the stable is, and she's pushing it hard to get home. If she's like me, she sees that half a kilometer left and says, "I just want to be done with this thing."
Looks
so
like she's pulled a second gap over Matt Powell as well. So looks like hopefully she can hold him off. And there's a couple of riders about a second, 2 seconds behind her. So fingers crossed she can push down until the end.
Yeah, from what I can see, her watts per kilogram are higher, but as we know, on this flat course, it's all about the watts. So the heavier guys, even though they may have less watts per kilo, they're going to be pushing more watts. That Selamovic is at 4.2, Jay Moen at 3.6. They're coming up behind her. She's got about 100 meters to go, and she gets passed by Selamovic, and she's putting it down. She's at 4.1. She was trying. I don't think she's going to be able to catch it, but she's really throwing it down. And there she goes. She entered the race at 5 watts per kilo. So good move there. And we're done.
Brilliant effort from Carol. And lovely to see a new face in the race as well. And certainly a new face on our feature stream as well. So a big thank you to Carol, a big thank you to Brett, and also to our good friend Michael Bowser, and a big thanks to Craig Martin for the pictures we've had tonight, and they've been absolutely fantastic. And a big thank you to Steve and Ed also for joining me tonight and following our riders. So we look forward to seeing you next weekend, where we will have the lovely 8-kilometer route. Which is 75% flats and 25% not flats. But we hope to see you there. Thank you very much for watching. Good night.